Hey everybody, Chris here at Blue Rhino Safaris. I recently had to change tires on my vehicle and chatted a bit to some of the guys at the tire shops. I also had a trip to Botswana, spoke to a customer, and he said to me that the first thing that you do when you buy a vehicle is, of course, you throw the tires off and you get new tires. And I was thinking, well, that doesn't really make sense, but you paid for the tires, you might as well get the use of them. But that is a mindset that we have when it comes to 4x4 driving. We buy tires for reasons that doesn't necessarily make sense, but maybe it does. Who knows? We're going to have a look at that. So I recently, I did Kahukuland. I bought the vehicle. I had a set of tires on them already, but I was a little bit scared of Kahukuland with the rocks and decided to maybe go with the old trusted BF Goodridges, the KO2s, which I've been driving for the last 10 years at least. And I've always gotten about 90 to 100,000 kilometers on them on the Land Cruiser Trooper. Changed over to the Hilux, decided to go for KO2s because I know them, and if you know me, KO2s always work, and therefore I will be fine. But I finished Kahukuland and I had a puncture. Went into the tire shop in Swakop, chatted to the guy and said, this tire is gone. Let me show you what the tread looks like. A little bit difficult to see, but I would say, looking at this, I can probably do another 5,000 Ks. I actually wouldn't even do anything anymore. This tire in the wet weather will give you so much trouble that it's not even funny. If I have to guess the millimeters of tread left, it's maybe 2, maybe 3 millimeters. But there's one of the little markers, and there's not much left on that one. So I'm not happy with what is left here. So I spoke to a few guys about tire choices, and they said to me, well, unfortunately, the BF Goodridges have moved factory or something, or they changed the compound in the process. And there's a few more complaints these days about the tire life that people get. So I said, this is not good enough. I can't do this amount of money for 50,000 kilometers on a set of tires. That's just not going to work for me. So BF Goodridges on my Hilux on an 18-inch rim, definitely out. That's it. So I need to change tires. Now, I did this after Kahukuland in April, so I realized I need another tire, so I put back the tires that I bought the vehicle with, just normal Goodyear Wranglers 80s. Nothing funny, nothing fancy, fairly cheap and affordable tires. So I did the rest of the season up to now with my Goodyear Wranglers, and that includes the Serengeti, the bad roads in the Serengeti. It includes Botswana, the deluxe tour that I just did, and also Central Kalahari, which is a lot of deflated tires down to 0.8, quite a bit, recoveries with caravans, all kinds of things that we were doing. So the tires performed well. No punctures, no sidewall cuts, no out of rounds, no issues, no nothing. So I was quite happy with what the Wranglers did. The only problem was they were feeling a little bit loose on the road. Now I knew that I couldn't keep going on them for several reasons, but what to replace them with became an issue. What do I choose? How do you buy a tire? How do you decide what tires do you want? And to do that, we're going to go back to the drawing board, and we have to first establish what we are putting the tires on. So the first thing you need to know is, what does your vehicle weigh? Of course, you can look at the disc and see what it is empty and what the maximum is that you're supposed to be, but that's not the true reflection of what it is. This is my configuration. I threw the buck off at the back. I built an aluminium canopy, so it's light, it's strong. I've got an aluminium tent. And then if you have a look inside, my wood box for wood, it's empty at the moment. My water tank is about half. My diesel tank, extra diesel tank is empty. You'll see that they are on and slightly behind the rear axle, so the weight is purely on the rear axle. So distribution of weight is good, but I have no idea what this thing weighs. I would say empty, the tire weight is just on 2 tons. So I would say my modifications and everything, probably 2.6, 2.5, 2.6 tons. The gross vehicle mass on this vehicle is 2.86 tons, just short of 3, 2.86, but I'm not there, or am I? So what I had to do was get this guy out to the weighbridge and weigh it. Once you weigh it, you know exactly what you're dealing with. You're not guessing anymore. And that's what I did. So as with everything, you have to start in the beginning. So let's go back to the drawing board and start in the beginning. The first thing we want to have a look at is our disc. The disc states a taro weight of 1969. It states a GVM, gross vehicle mass. That's the maximum load that the vehicle is supposed to be, 2860. And this is determined by Toyota. And if you take the difference between the two, it means the load that you can carry is about 900 kilos. Let's go with 900. It's easy to calculate. So that's one part of the information that we do need. The second part you will normally find in the door of your vehicle, driver's side door, and there's a few things here to have a look at. The first thing is the tire size is a 265 60 or 18. So that's quite important. And then the load and speed rating is 110H. And then you will note here the pressure for an empty vehicle, cold tire inflation pressure for an empty vehicle, 2 bar front, 2 bar back. Because if you look at this, your empty vehicle at 2 tons without the load of 900 kilograms, then you'll be 2 bar, and then 2.3, 2.5 at the back. You notice the higher pressure at the back. So remember always when we talk about higher pressures at the back rather than the front, if we deflate tires for sand, it's because we're carrying a load. So it has to support the load. But something important to note is that the pressures here are advised by Toyota, and it's between 2 and 2.5. And that's quite important to remember. So now that we've got our tire size and we've got the load and speed rating that we have to have, we can now buy a tire. So what you do when you want to buy a tire is you go to a place like Tiger Wheel and Tire, and thank you very much for use of their website, because their website makes it quite easy to do our thing. And what we're going to do is we are going to say shop all. Once we get to the shop all, we can go to the tire size, and we are looking for a 265 60 or 18. That's the one. We click filter, and Tiger Wheel and Tire has a nice website to do this, because you can filter certain things in and filter certain things out of the equation that you want. And there we go. We have 25 results. So there's 25 tires to choose from. So where do we start? Goodyear Wrangler all-terrain. Doesn't look good. Hankook Dynapro 82, good price. Is it really a good one? And we go down the list, and I'm just using Tiger Wheel and Tire and the tires that they have available for the sake of explaining this whole exercise. So that's all very good, no problem. But how do we know which one to pick? And for that, we go back to our load rating. So when we are back at the load rating, you take your vehicle to maybe the nearest DECRA or the closest weighbridge buddy that you have, and you ask them to weigh your vehicle. Now ideally what you want to weigh is the front axle and the rear axle, because you need to know which is one. Your total weight is not very important, but the maximum weight on a wheel is important. So I took mine to the DECRA around the corner in Isando, because they have a weighbridge, and they weighed my vehicle for me. Now, unfortunately, they can't weigh the axles independently, but I have a way to calculate it because I have a lift and it's not too difficult. But what you can do is you take your vehicle to the weighbridge, ask them if you can just put the front wheels on the weighbridge, leave the back ones just off the weighbridge, and that is your front axle, and then turn the vehicle around and put the back wheels on the weighbridge and leave the front wheels just off the weighbridge. And you do this in a sort of loaded state, the way you would go on holiday. Now, you've seen my bakkie, you know what it looks like, and there's still a few things that I can do. But when I did my load test now, I had a total weight of 2860, which was interesting. 2860 is my GVM. That means that all these modifications that I've done, even though it's aluminium, got me to exactly my maximum weight without wood, without water, without extra diesel. So when I do my split, I see that on my rear axle, I've calculated it on the side here, I have 1,660 kilograms for both tires, of course. So if I divide that by 2, then I have 830. Now 830 is as it stands there, but with no wood, no water, no diesel. If I add the wood, it's 100 kilos, so I have to say that is plus 50 per wheel. And then I have to add my diesel, which is 70 liters, let's say plus 35 per wheel. And then I have to add my water tank, which is a 60 liter, which is plus 30 per wheel. And the total there would be 115 kilos. So my rear now ends up at 830 plus 115. So that is 945 kilograms. All right, so this is the number that I can work with. So what I want to do first is go back to Toyota. They say it's 110H. Now, to understand what this means, we open a screen that gives us the load rating and the speed rating. So the first 3 digits here, this is the load rating, and the alphabet letter is a speed rating. Speed rating is not too important, but let's have a look at the H. H is 210 kilometers an hour, which I'm never going to do with my with this vehicle, although it is rated according to the tire to do that. Maximum I'm going to do is probably going to be, let's say 180, which is a S. R is 170, so I'm going to say I'm comfortable with a R speed rating. But what weight rating am I going to look at now? So for Toyota, they said 110. So if I go down the scale, I see 110 is 1,060 kilograms of load per tire. Now, if I take the 1,060 versus the 830, it means Toyota suggested 230 kilograms more rated tire than the maximum of the vehicle, 230 kilograms more. So they said, we're not going to go with a 101 load rating, which gives me 825, because this customer might just be an idiot and overload his vehicle. So we are going to specify a vehicle that is 230 kilograms more, and we make it 1060. So the safety factor, $230 kilos that Toyota suggests. So now I can go back to my number. I've got 945 kilos, which is my maximum load, plus 230 gives me a 1175 rating. Now this is adding Toyota's a little bit extra, 1175. And if I go down and I look for 1175, There's a 1180, it's 114. So this is a 114. So I would say the tire that I would be happy with is load rating 114 and more, speed rating R or better. And this to me is now important because I changed the Toyota deal. I added my stuff and now I'm overweight. And this is critical. And I don't think people realize how heavy the vehicles are. Number one, I often hear people say, I have a Land Cruiser and this thing weighs 4 tons. Sure, but what is it on the rear axle? What is it on the front axle? Which tire sees the most load? Find the load, add the safety factor so that you still have the safety factor that Toyota suggests of 230 kilograms per tire. So if we go back to the Tiger wheel page now, I can now go to the load rating at the bottom. And I can say, for my tire, the 109 is not going to work, the 110 is not going to work, 114 or 116 are the two load ratings that will work for me. Because I said 114 as a minimum, that's what I want. And now I drop down to 4 tires that I can use. I have an option of 4, and that's it. Hancocks, the 114 XL. Now, something that I haven't mentioned yet is the pressure of the tire. So if we go back to the Toyota sticker, then you'll see 265/60R18. But in the front of this lettering, there is a P. Now, if it's left out, it's accepted that it should be a P, and the P stands for passenger. A passenger tire is only inflated up to 2.5 bar, nothing more. So if a tire is rated P something, then it will be a passenger tire, which means maximum inflation is 2.5. You can sometimes see on the tire it says maximum inflation 3 bar or something like that. That's really just a safety feature, but you do not inflate the tire to carry more load. In the front of this, if you see LT, it means light truck. Light truck means the engineer has been given freedom to build a stronger tire of the same size. So the carcass is stronger, the tire is heavier, and it can handle more pressure. And once you go with LT in front of the number, or the tire says extra load on the tire itself, it means you are allowed to pump that tire between 2.5 and 3 bar, 2.9 basically. So you can increase the pressure of the tire. So if you're driving a normal tire and look at the sidewall of your tire, and if you see 265, whatever the number is, and there's nothing in front of that first number, nothing, it's just clear, or there's a P, it means it's a passenger tire. And then it means your maximum pressure on that tire is 2.5 bars. You cannot cold pressure. You cannot pump it 2.6, 2.7. It's too much for the tire. The carcass has not been built to handle it. If it says extra load somewhere on the tire itself, or there's a big capital E somewhere, it normally suggests extra load tire, and it normally would mean you just have to make sure that it is a extra load tire, which means you can now pump that tire harder to carry a better load. So in our case, in my case, this 1110H is out of the window because it's not enough for the weight of my vehicle. The second thing is that the P in front of the 265 is out of the window. I cannot go with these lower pressures. I need an extra load tire because my tire is the same size, but it's an overweight tire. And therefore, if you plunge it into or plug it into your Tiger Wheel and Tire system, you end up with 4 options. There's only 4 options here. The one is the Hankook, the Dynapro 82. So then you start reading a few reviews, and the few reviews that I've had from them is, it's not really all-terrain. It gives good life, but it sounds like the guys have problems with stones getting stuck in the tread and then drilling through, and you get punctures. So reliability, don't know. It's not a tire that I'm used to, so I can't really say anything about it. The Goodyear Wrangler Duratrack, it's got a 116 rating, which means it is a heavy carcass. And if you look on the tire itself, it will have, in front of the letters, it will have the LT lettering, which means it's also a light truck arrangement. So this one will work for me. Duratrack are speaking to the guys. It's not a new tire. It's been around for a while, but it hasn't really done a lot in South Africa for some or other reason. Not sure why. The BFs, the KO2s, I just threw them off because I wasn't happy with the result or the mileage that I was getting, so I wasn't going to do that one again. Then the general tire, again, a 116 rating, 83s, it's got a 3-ply sidewall. So that is also an option. But here I'm stuck with these 4 options basically, based on the load of my vehicle. I don't like the look of this one. I don't like the look of that one. The KO2, I don't want to use again because I'm not getting mileage. So it means I might just be stuck with the Wranglers. But that's how you calculate these things. You have to know the weight of your vehicle, and then you have to eliminate the tires that you cannot use because their load rating is just not there. And then ultimately you will end up with the options that you have. You make your choice and off you go. So that's it. Calculations done. It becomes an easy choice. You have an option of a few. And what did I ultimately go with? The Wranglers. The Wrangler RT, rugged terrain. Good tire, expected life, 90, 100,000 kilometers. All terrain, a 116 load rating. And driving with this tire versus the old Wrangler tire, I can feel a massive difference. This one is not as loose. When you're cornering, when you're turning, the vehicle on the old tire was very loose. On this tire, the vehicle feels fairly solid. There's no stress. So the driver comfort will definitely be better on this tire than it was on that one. I hope this helped. If you have any questions, please ask. Otherwise, drive safe and I'll see you on the next trip. Cheers.